I'm making my 26 and 2026 list currently, and I think I need some help. I need you guys to influence or de-influence some of the books I'm thinking about reading next year. So what that means is if you've read a book, if you've heard good things about a book, if you've heard not good things about a book, if you don't think I'm gonna like it, if you think I'm gonna like it, put it down in the comments down below as I talk about it. Put your heart out there. Tell me the truth. Tell me the cold, hard facts so that I am only picking up good books next year. Like, I have a goal in mind to give out like a certain amount of stars. And honestly, I was like, oh, I could go attainable. But now I'm like, what if I went and challenged myself? And so I'm trying to make sure I'm prioritizing reading books I'm going to love, like giving myself the best chance of giving a lot of 5 stars, a lot of 4 stars out next year, and saying bye-bye to those 3 stars that I hate. I'm kind of nervous because I think some of these I really want to read and some of these I don't want to read, and I just have a feeling that the comments are going to be switched. The ones I want to read, people are going to be like, you're not going to like it. And the ones I don't want to read, people are going to be like, read, 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 read. And not that I don't want to read them, but that I'm more skeptical that they're not going to be a 5 star. Like, I'm less excited about them. That feels wrong. Like, every book on this list is something I want to read and I'm thinking about reading. I also picked not a single book that I own physically because I didn't want to be de-influenced to my physical TBR because I own it, and so I want to try and read it without unhauling it just cause. I'm talking really fast because I'm nervous. Okay, let's talk about the first one. I think this is an easy one. I think, fingers crossed, people are going to influence me into reading this one. But Smoke and Scar series. This just got picked up traditionally, and I've heard nothing but good things about this, so I'm very excited and hopeful. But then there's always some part of my brain that is like, what if you're the one person who doesn't like it? Okay, first off, this book has trials, and I know I love trials, so like that excites me. It's about a splintered kingdom. There is an ancient grudge that has kept humans and magical races at odds for like centuries. Which every 25 years, there's the Arcane Crucible, which offers a chance for peace. And we're following haunted warrior Illyria Lightbreaker, who once was a celebrated Fae war hero and is a shadow of her former self now. She's drowning in grief after losing the man she loved the previous Crucible, and now she must rise to stop his sister from falling to the same fate. And then we also find a vengeful knight hardened by loss and fueled by hate, Cedric Thorne, whose lifelong goal is to conquer the Crucible on humanity's behalf. So the reasons I think I'm gonna like this, we have 2 characters on either side of like essentially a war, like prejudice and stuff, and I have a history of liking books with 2 characters on either side. My biggest examples of this are Ashes of the Sun and A Forbidden Alchemy. I both liked those, and those like stick in my brain. They're on opposite sides of a war and they're coming together, or even The Bone Season. So like I know that this like setup can work for me, and I love me some trials. Like, that's a given. And they have to work together, so that's reluctant allies to lovers, which is another buzzword for me. But I am nervous because it's like this book that's blowing up, and I haven't had the greatest success with some of those. And also, I don't have the greatest success with Fae stories. This sounds like kind of wild to say because Fae is such a like loved concept in romantasy, but I have noticed a lot of the romantasy I don't love are like typical Fae stories. The stories I love are more like vampires or like creatures with magic that aren't called Fae, or like things like that. The like more Fae leaning I don't love. There are exceptions. I loved The Cruel Prince, but that's what has me nervous about this one. So if you've read this one, let me know how it like shapes up to those. Sometimes I feel like Fae stories can just be very similar to each other and not bring anything new. And I know that all romantasy does that, all books do that in general, but there's just something that doesn't work for me in that story being repeated over and over again. So let me know if this feels unique. That would be very interesting for me to know and make it definitely go up on my TBR. The next one I need to be influenced into again. This one, I have had a lot of people tell me and recommend this to me as like, this is your taste and you're going to love it. But something about this is so absolutely terrifying to me. I think it's the concept of what if I don't like it when everyone has told me I'm going to like it. And it is Legendborn. I think one of the scariest parts of this is that it is a YA story, and I can like YA still. Some of my favorite series are YA, the Aurelian Cycle, the Crimson Maw, but I've also found myself growing out of YA at the same time and not being as instantly in love with it. The thing is, I do think the YA I do love bridges the gap between YA and new adult, and it kind of leans a little bit there. It's for like the 16, 17-year-olds, not the 13-year-olds, if that makes sense. Like, I don't love that story of YA. So definitely let me know on this one. I do think this one does steer into that older genre of YA. I just also think the series is so beloved that my fear of not wanting to read it comes from the fact that, like, it's a beloved series and I don't want to be the one to come on here and say I didn't like it, even though I do that all the time. But it sucks. It literally sucks when you don't love a series that everyone else loves. But then again, like, people are telling me that I'm going to love this, so why am I stopping myself from reading a story that could be a 5-star? Honestly, I don't think I've ever read the synopsis for this, so let's do that together. After her mother dies in an accident, 16-year-old Bree Matthews wants nothing to do with her family memories or childhood home. A residential program for bright high schoolers at UNC Chapel Hill seems like the perfect escape until Bree witnesses a magical attack her very first night on campus. A secret society of so-called Legendborn, students that hunt the creatures down. Oh, now I remember why I didn't read this when, like, it blew up. A mysterious teenage mage who calls himself a Merlin and who attempts and fails to wipe Bree's memory of everything she saw. This is like an Arthurian? I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I mean, like a Merlin retelling of some sort. I am not really the biggest fan of those. I love the TV show Merlin, but other than that, it's not a storyline that super intrigues me. However, I could also say that about Beauty and the Beast, and Bonded by Thorns is one of my favorite series. I actually typically hate Beauty and the Beast retellings or inspirings, so like it makes me more wary to pick them up, but that doesn't mean I'm going to hate it. How influenced is it, I guess, is something that could be important. The mage's failure unlocks Bree's own unique magic and a buried memory with a hidden connection. The night her mother died, another Merlin was at the hospital. Now that Bree knows there's more to her mother's death than what's on the police report, she'll do whatever it takes to find out the truth, even if that means infiltrating the Legend Board as one of their initiates. Oh, this does hit a lot of buzzwords. It's like an urban fantasy, maybe like contemporary fantasy. Recently, I think that I'm into like our world. It's technically what we call urban fantasy, but I think that urban fantasy feels a little bit different, but it's our world, contemporary setting, but there's magic in our world, which is urban fantasy, but not like paranormal urban fantasy, if that makes sense. But then this has a school setting, which I love, and then she's pretending to be something, or she's kind of going in there to investigate, and she's kind of having a secret that that's what she's there for. Also something I literally love. And I'm assuming there is some sort of romance in this since it is YA. It typically is a big part of coming of age stories. So yeah, definitely influence me or de-influence me. I'm assuming everyone's gonna influence me. That's what I need. Okay, the next one I'm so iffy about. It's The Ascended by Bree Greenwich and Parker Lennox. This is blowing up. The thing with this one is I hated the other series that's in this world. I hated it. What's that called? Riftborn? I read that earlier this year and I gave it 2 stars, and I honestly think it could have been a 1 star. Like, the more I space myself from this story, the more I hate it. And I know everyone says book 2 is better, like the leap from book 1 is incredible, and I'm willing to give it a try, but only if I like The Ascended, I think. So I'm torn whether I should even read The Ascended though, because I'm like, well, if I hated that one, am I gonna hate this one? And I know there are connections, and I know some people scream about how you have to read the Riftborn and Duskbound books first and then you can read this one, but the author has also said that they can be read independently, but that is her like preferred reading order, which is valid. But since I did read one and I didn't like it, I think it's okay for me to jump into this one. But then I'm also like, am I gonna like this one because I didn't like those ones? And so that is really the biggest issue I'm having here. But also, like, if this is the next big book, like I kind of want to try it. And like, what if it's better? And I have a very big history, a huge history of hating a series from an author and loving their other series. Like, I can tell you all of my favorite series. I don't like another one. The Final Strife I loved, didn't like Faebound. Serpent and the Wings of Night is my favorite romantasy to ever exist. Hate Daughter of No Worlds. Hated Lady of Darkness, love Reign of Shadows and Endings. And those are in the exact same world. So like, there's a reason that I think that this could be a favorite, but I'm also just like terrified of reading it because of the connections. And this one is Trials Again. It's a Trial of Ascension, which I also think I could like better than the other book I read from them. Didn't really have that. It felt more like classic fae. They discover some secrets are worth dying for and others are worth killing. It's also twins, and I love a sibling story. I love when it's like the main character, female protagonist, is forced into something against her will and she's just like making the best of it. There's something about that like setup and the power dynamic that ends up leading to in stories that I really enjoy. And in the synopsis, it says that she is seized and conscripted into the trials against her will when her power is exposed. And I think she wants to take it all down, which I love taking down the system as well. So there's definitely like a lot of buzzwords in this. Something about bringing her closer to godhood, which sounds interesting, but I'm just scared because like I hated the other book. Okay, the next one is a new one on my TBR. Actually, like literally last night, one of my patrons, Jonathan, suggested this to me because he's reading it and having a really good time. But Conform. This is a dystopian romantasy, which a genre I did not know I needed, which I should have guessed because like dystopian is one of my favorite genres. I don't read nearly enough of it, but I literally love it to death. And then I love romantasy. And so I think the blending of these two things, I think it's a way to like almost give like hope and excitement in this like unhopeful society that's happening. I mean, even the Hunger Games, it's not a romance at all, but there is romance in there to like have you feel some sort of emotion that's not just, wow, this world really sucks. And so I am really enjoying that aspect of dystopian romantasy. Oh, there's a love triangle. I know some of you hate a love triangle, but I love a love triangle. This synopsis is freaking long. In the far future, one young woman finds herself torn between two loves and two sides of a rebellion boiling under the surface. Rebellion is also a buzzword. Centuries after a catastrophic world war nearly decimated the human population, a city arose from the ashes, ruled by an elusive and technologically advanced group called the Elam. I also loved science and technology in my books. Emmeline lives in limbo, wasting her days away in a job sorting ancient human art for destruction and waiting to be selected as a mate for a procreation contract. Oh, I do also love in dystopian how there's always conversations how one of the first things to go is our reproduction rights, and I think it's crazy and not far off what's happening in our world, and I think it's really, really like, I think dystopian's coming back for a reason. That's all I'm saying. Oh, she's chosen and she's not sure why she's chosen by one of the Illum who don't really take mates very often. And she's swept into a dangerous game of courting. I love a court setting as well. And of course there's a rebellion. There's always rebellions in dystopian stories, which also is maybe why I love them, because I just love taking down the system. The love triangle aspect actually does make me a little bit nervous because we're gonna have two different sides, but I'm also excited about that. So I'm unsure. I just like don't want one side to feel too fake. I love when a love triangle has me like on one side or the other, but also like not thinking the other side is just a piece of shit. And I'm worried that I'm gonna think the one in power is like a piece of shit. So that's really my only fear with this. I should probably just put this on my 26 and 2026. But if you've got any complaints or any like reason I should prioritize it, you know what to do at this point. Okay, the next one. The next one is a scary boy, and y'all are all gonna say, read it. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. Okay, hear me out. I've heard this is a quest story and I don't really like quest stories. But I originally loved One Dark Window for like the atmosphere and stuff. That book was a 5-star when I read it and finished it. But honestly, the more time I spent away from it, the more and more I've not loved it and given it like lower ratings in my head. And then I read the second book and I absolutely despised the second book in that series, which doesn't help with like my rating of the first one, I guess. So like that is just really what makes me nervous about this one, is like the fact that I didn't love the second book, the fact that even my love of One Dark Window went down. I think it was like a vibes only book for me. I just like thought it was very unique and I loved the atmosphere. And then at the same time, this one being like this long journey and quest story. I don't know, part of me feels like I should read it because it's Rachel Gillig and people are loving it. But then part of me is like, I know I hate stories that are just like going on a journey. Just like a lot of walking and a lot of talking and trying to go for a quest. So that's really like my biggest fear with this one. But I do know that there's, I think, a companion of some sort that's like a talking thing that's supposed to be really funny, and that's something I really do love. Is it a sword? I don't know. It's something. So I guess just give me your thoughts down below. I'm not gonna go over the synopsis of this one. I feel like we kind of have a vibe. We know, you know? Okay, I'm putting the favorites also on this list, which is a wild card. Like no one probably expected this, but recently my patrons kind of were like, you could like this because I love drama. I know that like it's in like a romance category in like the Goodreads Choice Awards and stuff, but like my patrons were like, it's more like literary, but there's so much just like ice skating drama happening. And as a reality TV lover, they're like, you could like this. And because I just like love and live for drama of any sorts, like Gossip Girl, like CW show style drama, and a lot of people are like, yeah, it's kind of like CW show. So that's why this one's on here. But then also, I don't read a lot of literary because I find it slow and I find it boring. Will I like this, especially if the romance isn't like strong because people don't think it's a romance? But also, will that end up benefiting it because like it's so messy? I haven't read anything probably even similar, maybe only Daisy Jones and the Six, which I thought was boring. But this is so far out of my comfort zone that I just like need more people to tell me, will I like this or will I hate it? I'm not entirely certain. Another wild card I think probably is Play of Shadows by Sebastian de Castell. I think this is supposed to be like another version of the Greatcoats. And so Sebastian de Castell, I read the first two Greatcoats and I did really enjoy them. I just waited way too long before continuing, and so then I ended up not having interest in continuing on in that series. Maybe I should go back and start them from the beginning. And then I didn't like his other series. I felt like the humor was too like teenage boyish, which makes sense. It's a YA story for males, really. Like it had a target audience of more of a men demographic, and that's allowed. Like that's 100% allowed, but I just like didn't enjoy it, and I thought the animal companion in that was so annoying. But I do love Sebastian de Castell's style of writing, of like breaking the fourth wall and stuff. I think that it's very unique and he does it very well. And I can like humor in my books, but I can also hate it. So I'm very curious on this one if it like feels more Greatcoaties or feels more, is it Spellslinger? Is the other series by him. So those are like my like concerns with it. But like I do love a lot of his writing and I would love to like dive back into it, especially because I just kind of like fell out of the Greatcoats. So I was like, maybe this would be one for me. But I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, which like I'm not in like fantasy space anymore. I definitely live and breathe in the romantasy space, especially because like those are the creators that are creating things that I enjoy, like the reading vlogs and things like that. I feel like a lot of the fantasy creators I find do like one book reviews and things like that, which are things I dislike. I love making TBRs. I love reading vlogs. So I'm not really in that space anymore. So maybe that's why I haven't really heard of it as much. But it just like makes me nervous that I haven't heard of it very often. But there's always like good found family aspects in his stories. There's always like a really cool like system politically and magically. I don't really know much more about this book, to be honest. So just if you do, comment down below. There's a lot of me telling people to comment. Okay, another story that I'm nervous about but also really intrigued about is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. So the biggest reason I need people to influence me or de-influence me is I've actually DNF'd this book in the past. I read this long time ago and I DNF'd it, I want to say like 50-60 pages in. However, I DNF'd Zodiac Academy at that time. I DNF'd a lot of romantasy. I pretty much only read A Court of Thorns and Roses at this time and enjoyed that. And then I was like definitely more into fantasy, and I found often in romantasy books I didn't like the writing style, and that's what had me DNFing things. I definitely think I enjoy the romantasy writing style a lot more now. It's like one of my favorites. I really do enjoy the simplicity of the prose often, which is like a big complaint for a lot of people, but it makes it more enjoyable for me. I just like had to accept that, and I wasn't, and I think society makes you feel wrong for liking those things. Sometimes you're not educated enough, but I'm a very well-educated woman in my opinion, so I just prefer that, and that is 100% valid and 100% okay, and I just find them more engaging because of that. I like a faster paced story, and that tends to lead to that and things like that. So I'm more intrigued by this one because of that, and because I DNF Zodiac Academy like pretty much that same month I think, and now I love Zodiac Academy. That has me saying I should try more things that I DNF'd back then. However, I have read from Scarlett St. Clair twice since then, and both books I felt completely mid about to almost disliking. I did like one more than the other. I think one was a 3, almost a 4, and one was a 3, almost a 2. And so I'm like, is her writing style for me? But then also I go back to that point I made earlier of me liking some things from an author and other things I don't like. So sometimes it takes more push for me to try something from an author that I disliked first, because like I'm worried I'm gonna dislike everything from them, versus if I like something from them first, I'm like more willing to try for a long time because I'm like, I want that high again. So I think I'm just like a little more nervous because I haven't like loved anything from her. But this one really does intrigue me. It's a Hades and Persephone retelling, which is such a like big retelling type story. Like people love them. I honestly actually don't think I've read that many, but probably some on my shelves that I don't even know are. I'm not like a big retelling person. I don't really know the legends at their core, so they can go right over my head a lot of the time. But I know this one is literally Hades. I know she goes and she like makes a deal with Hades in this. And I do remember thinking the like setup of the city and the gods and who she was really interesting. So I'm just like, do I give this another shot? You know? Like, do I? The next one has a similar issue, Heart of Night and Fire by Nisha J. Tooley. I despised the other series I read from her. I DNF'd it. It's that like Bachelor meets a selection story. What's it called? Trial of the Sun Queen. Hated that. And so I've been scared to try her since then. However, she has a new series coming out in 2026 called Stormbreaker that's like YA that I'm so damn excited about. And so I'm like, what if I tried this one too? But then I've also heard no one talk about this, and I think it's crazy that her other series blew up and people didn't like go back and read her backlist. I don't know if that's just me, but I'm typically someone who's like, okay, I loved this. What else does this author have? And it backfires on me sometimes. But like, that's who I am as a person. And so like, why has no one talked about this? Is it not good? I don't even know what it's about, to be honest, but I was just like, the cover looks really pretty, but is it not good? Or is it amazing? I don't know. So if you've read this, please let me know, because I think I've heard literally no one ever mention it, and people love her other series. A City of Magic, A Passion Born in Dreams. Is this an urban fantasy? Is this a secondary world urban fantasy? Because that's my bread and butter. Oh, but this does say that for years she's been trapped in a gilded prison, and on my 1-star audit, I put stories where she's in a prison and then she makes a deal with someone who's not the love interest. If she makes a deal with the love interest, it's gold for me, but if it's not with the love interest, it's not. But this sounds really good. She's got forbidden magic, a dangerous secret. She escapes to the dazzling city of Dorati. She discovers a new world of enchantment and intrigue, and with the help of seductive blood-drinking Rakshasa and magic-weaving Azari sorcerers, she searches for answers. With the cities under siege every night, dark creatures attack. I love like creature stories too, like when there's like cool creatures that are like out and about. I do love that. It's giving from Blood and Ash kind of, but without the like virgin setup. Indian mythology. This sounds really good, but like, why has no one talked about it? It's scary. Not that I need people to talk about things, but like, it's just like on my brain, like, why isn't anyone? Okay, another one on the list is Gideon the Ninth, which is lesbian necromancers in space, but I've heard that it doesn't really feel that spacey. They're technically in space, but they're in like a locked room in space, so it just feels like you're in a locked room. And I think the locked room kind of scares me. I do enjoy an isolated setting, but I think more in terms of like, they're stuck in a house and they have trials, like Phantasma style, with like lots of characters, but not like one room. And I'm really nervous if they're stuck like really in one room, how I'm going to feel about that. And I have a habit of not loving necromancers stories. Phantasma technically is a necromancer story, and I did love that. But in general, they tend to not work out for me. And I think it's because necromancy makes me want darkness and gritty and this vibe that things don't get. And also I've heard that this has like a lot of comedy to it as well, which can or can't work for me. Like, it's very scary because I'm just like unsure. But like, even when I read the synopsis, it doesn't, the comedy in it I'm very nervous about. But I was nervous about the comedy in Dungeon Crawler Carl and ended up literally thinking that was some of the best parts of it. So there's that. I'm not sure, I don't know, this is also such a beloved series that I'm scared to read it and hate it, but it is up there for if I want to try it or not. So tell me whether you think I'm gonna like it, tell me whether you think I'm not gonna like it. And then we have Spellcaster by Jabin Eve, which the first thing going for it is that it's a college, like of some sort. It's a school setting, and I love me a school setting. Welcome to Weatherston College. Don't walk the halls late at night. Sounds suspicious, which I like. Don't disturb the ancient magic. Also sounds suspicious, and people are probably going to do both of those things. And don't under any circumstance ever trust a spellcaster. When my magic bloomed at 22, the last thing I expected was to receive an acceptance letter to the most prestigious witch academy in the world. It's not that I don't have magic, it's just unpredictable. But with Weatherstone a part of my family legacy, I am determined to live up to their expectations. A task that almost derailed on my very first day when I come face to face with Logan Kingston, the son of my father's enemy. I'm warned to avoid the powerful spellcaster at all costs, but apparently Logan did not receive the same memo. I do like this little setup happening. The more time I spend around him, the more I crave his unsettling attention, and as hate flirts with obsession, I'm left wondering if there's another side to the decades-old feud between our fathers. I do love when there's like a feud like that. Like Romeo and Juliet style without the tragedy, because I want the happily ever after in the end. But like, that does like really entice me, but I'm not sure about this writing style. Like sometimes from the synopsis, I'm like, wow, this is gonna be cringe. And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. On top of that, Weatherstone is not all that like I expected. It built on the ancient blood of necromancers and battle. The magic here is as unpredictable as mine, and I sense a dark energy stalking my footsteps. When a monster attacks me, I have no choice but to turn to the strongest warlock in our school, Logan. After all, to fight a monster, I'll need a monster. I do like that last line quite a bit. It feels like it could be a really bingeable book, which is something I love, but it also feels like it could go into like On Wings and Blood, which I just like couldn't vibe with. It just felt so juvenile to me in its like tone. But also it is a college story. She's 22, so like that is also acceptable, you know? But I just like want more thoughts on this one because I don't know. Will this work for me? Will I dislike it? Not 100% certain. Okay, I don't even know how many I did. I think there's like 11 on this list, but let me know which ones I should read. Let me know which ones I shouldn't read, because then I can really get to planning my 26 in 2026 and have that out to you guys sometime soon. Really looking forward to this input that you're gonna give me. And if you'd just like to know a little bit more about my taste, I'm actually gonna leave my 5-star audit vlog on the screen. I feel like this talks a lot about things I like and things I didn't like, so it could really help you if you're looking for like, will I like some of these books or not? And if you'd like to just leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me like a pen and paper. I think there's like a paper emoji. Leave me that because I feel like I just gave you guys some homework. And have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.